God is alive, magic is afoot. God is alive, magic is afoot. God is afoot, magic is alive, alive is afoot. Magic never died, God never sickened. Many poor men lied, many sick men lied.
Buffy
Magic
Sainte-Marie
never
is a
weakened.
Piapot Cree Nation Indigenous American/Canadian who is a singer-songwriter, musician, composer, visual artist, educator, pacifist, and social activist. She is keen to educate about Indigenous Americans. So her career pretty much started in the 60s when she was in her 20s, and she started doing gigs with just her and her guitar and did some extensive touring by the sound of it. Uh, and she gained a good reputation for herself. She claims that in the 70s she was blacklisted um, by uh, by US radio, and particularly that this was led by some of the presidents at the time, presumably to suppress the messages that she had about Indigenous Americans. She started to appear on Sesame Street and had a relationship with them for a while, and including showing her breastfeeding her child, and which may be the first representation of breastfeeding ever on TV, apparently. Into the 80s and the 90s, she started to use computers in her music. She co-wrote the song Up Where We Belong, which was a huge hit and was the theme song from the film An Officer and a Gentleman. Um, and then moving into the new millennium, she is now very well regarded. Her songs have been covered by many people, and she has had a lot of honours given to her. Her 17th studio album was released in 2017. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the sixth album by Buffy Sainte-Marie, or Sainte-Marie, don't know how you pronounce it, and it's my first time listening to it. And my general overall impression is it's odd, really strange, very odd, I would say. It has been commented on by other people. So, psychedelic folk is possibly a way of describing it. Freak folk, I quite like that as a genre description. That's what Wikipedia says. I can live with that. It's kind of it's it's got elements of folk, but it's got a lot of other stuff in there that makes it deeply interesting and unusual. So the kind of core thing that has made this big change is this early use of a booklet. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, synthesizer. So it is used, I believe, as an instrument, but mostly it's used as a vocal processor, which is a thing that um, these early synths could do is because they used all sorts of modules and electronic gizmos and stuff, and you had tone generators which would make a note, and then you'd feed that through all sorts of processing. You could, instead of using the tone generator, feed them an input, so other things could go in, and in this case, they used her vocals. Um, as well as this, we've got quite a lot of acoustic guitar with a folky kind of feel to it. Then there's a few tracks that are a kind of a 60s rock band feel with a fairly psychedelic feel, which is the word loose comes to mind in the way that it's done. Um, yeah, I think it's kind of in keeping with psychedelic stuff. Kind of, yeah, the Doors wouldn't be out of place with something like this. It's a little rough around the edges at times. That's okay. And then there's occasionally kind of semi-classical stuff. So there's a bit where there's a string arrangement, and there's bits of organ, and then all these different elements are mixed together. And sometimes there's kind of ongoing transitions that go on between the tracks, and it just gives this bizarre collection of sounds and things. But we haven't finished yet. So the singing, she's got a really intense, dramatic voice, and it's quite varied. The kind of emphasis on the way that she's singing, from kind of a strong rock grittiness to a gentle, intimate kind of folky sound, is very strong vocally, and she's got a very distinctive voice. She has a very deep and fast, I'm going to say tremolo slash vibrato. So, getting a little bit technical, I'm not quite sure if I've got this exactly right in terms of listening to her voice. So, tremolo is where the volume goes up and down, and vibrato is where the pitch goes up and down. I can't demonstrate either of them because I'm not really a singer. But it's more common to have vibrato than to have tremolo. But she has, so I think what she has is about two-thirds tremolo, one-third vibrato. So I think it goes up and down in volume and in pitch as well at the same time. It may just be such a deep tremolo that's giving me a bit of a false impression there. So sorry about that. But it's very interesting and different and quite odd. So just her natural voice is like that. So the whole thing, therefore, sound-wise, is weird, evocatively. And then we add lyrics, and it gets even weirder because we've basically got a mixture mostly here of some Christian tradition stuff. The song Mary, which is about Mary talking to Joseph. I'm not quite sure what Adam's about. The Stuff of the Little Children, Stuff of the Little Child. Let me just double check that one. Stuff of the Little Children. But more so mixed in here is quite a lot of esoteric slash occult stuff. So the words for the first song apparently are written by Leonard Cohen, and she's adapted them from in a book that he wrote. She's adapted them to music, and it's "God is alive, magic is afoot," and it's just this weird kind of combination of God stuff, but actually I'm not sure it's Christian God stuff and magic stuff. And then there's mentions of magic in other tracks as well. And then out of nowhere, in the middle of all this, is a track, I Guess Who I Saw in Paris, which is about an encounter, I think possibly a seduction, which just, I mean, it fits in the whole strangeness of the album, but it kind of sticks out as being about something else, being a bit much more kind of down to earth thing. So overall, the album kind of jumps out as being deeply different, deeply weird, and kind of witchy in its whole feel. It's effective, and I enjoyed it. I found it very interesting. So that's what I think. As always, I'd love to know what you think of this album. If you haven't heard this album and you want a bit of a trippy experience, have a listen. Because it is definitely something that I can't think of anything that is like it really. But yeah, if you want to tell me what you want of this, tell me what you want, what you really want. No, tell me what you think of this album. I'd love to know. So please do leave me a comment, and that's it from me for now.